Okay guys, this is going to be like a demo to kind of show you how these tech stations operate, and this is what I call version 3. It's got internal liquid cooling, which you can supply yourself at whatever level you can afford. And the way I made this station is that you just unplug all the wires and you pull the block off the CPU, put the hardware back on there so you don't lose it. And now you pretty much can just pull the station right out. And you want to set it aside, get it away from your action, because we're going to fill the loop. And what I've done is I've jumpered the power supply here between the green wire and the adjacent black wire. This will make the power supply fire up. So what you want to do is remove all your hard drives, unplug all your optical drives, get everything that's a drive unplugged. You can leave your fans in because it'd be good to test those, see if those work. And then what we want to do before you power this thing up, you got to make sure that you have water to the pump. You don't want an issue like that. And what I do is I like to make sure that if I do get any spills or anything, that they're controlled. I'm not running at the last minute trying to get something to wipe something up or whatever. So if you tuck this like this around your reservoir or wherever you're filling, however you want to set up your system, now you can pretty much count on, even if you make a little spill, it's not going to be a catastrophe. I use purified water. A lot of people like to use distilled water. I use purified water for 6 to 9 months at a time without any issues at all, no algae growth, nothing. I don't put any algicides in my loops. I don't put anything in them at all if it's for me. Sometimes I put a little touch of UV dye just so I can look for minute leaks around fittings. You put a little drop of UV dye in there, and then you can kind of see what's going on. So to speed this up a little bit, instead of putting a cap in and out every time, I got a rubber cork here like you'd get for a lab use or whatever. And I'm just going to cork that off so it doesn't squirt water up in the air. And I'm going to cycle the pump on briefly to see what happens here. Hopefully something. Nothing. Huh. Oh, my wire came out. Well, okay, that's enough. Turn off the pump. That's one thing you got to make sure is usually a paper clip works better, but I don't have any paper clips, so I just have a little piece of wire in here. The pump's going to run a little bit after you turn off your switch because there's capacitance charge inside the power supply that holds up for maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds, depending on the load. So you got to monitor that. And you don't want your reservoir to go more down than half. You don't want to be sucking air into the system. You want to be pushing air out of the system with the water. So you want to keep the reservoir pretty well topped up. And I find the cork makes life easy for me. I just recommend the cork to anybody. Cork is a beautiful thing. So here we go. We have so little tubing in this loop that with less than a pint of water, it's just about full. And in seconds it's bled. So let me turn this off for a second and top it off. This pump returns to the reservoir pointing straight up. The barb's going to push water up into the sky. If you fire this thing up without something on top of it, you're going to be seeing a geyser of water in the air. So take that into account when you're doing this kind of stuff. That's why I like to keep all the hardware as far away as possible. Now that I got it pretty well topped off enough to look at, I'm going to go ahead and put the cap on. Take out my toweling. That was just a, conservative there, being conservative. Now I'll just run it. And there you go. Now you can see the thing is gyrating away in there. Now I've got a cloth underneath the pump because I've had issues with Alpha Cool 1510 pumps leaking from the factory, from their joints. So I got to observe it and let it run for a while. Now what's really neat about this particular Alpha Cool pump is that despite some apparent quality control issues from Alpha Cool, it has this inverter, which I've got attached here with a piece of Velcro. But this inverter, if you turn this up from 12 volts, you can turn it right on up. That's 24 volts. The pump is now running approximately as fast as a Milwaukee RD30. It's really cranking along now. It's the most powerful pump for the money. For $100 bucks, it's a great pump. Just check for leaks. And don't try to repair them. I broke one trying to repair it. These pumps are very fragile. The plastic in them is very thin, and if you think that you can get a fitting off and dope it up and put it back on, you're wrong. It'll just snap right off there. And then you won't want to RMA unless you're a good guy. Okay, so we've got the thing running in. You can see that everything's working fine on it. So phase 2, because I got to keep these videos short because I got such sucky bandwidth that it'll take 2 days to upload. I'm going to put the motherboard in and then we'll test fire it and just do a quick test fire. No operating system, just the BIOS, just to see how this all works.